we've got Brittney Crabb on, who's really famous on YouTube. She's got a huge following on TikTok.
Oh.
You do not underestimate that. I'm excited to have her on today. I asked her if I could interview her because I thought she'd be a great example of what is possible, because she already has built this great foundation in social media, a great presence, and she's literally had millions of views. So you know that you can manifest the impossible. So I just wanted to have you on and get your ideas about law of assumption, how it's changed your life.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me on. I watch your TikToks all the time, I mean, obviously. And I wanted to say before we begin, which I think is really funny for this video, is for anyone watching, I actually manifested Maria to follow me. This was like last year, yes. I know I sound like a crazy person, I sound like a creeper, but I remember Maria came up on my For You page all the time. I'll look at the camera, sorry. I'm like looking down to look at the camera so people can see. She came on my For You page all the time. And I was testing out the whole, like, everyone is you pushed out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get Maria to follow me because she doesn't know who I am. We have no relation, no connection. Let's see if she follows me. A few months later, I would say like 2 months later, she follows me. And now we're making a video. She didn't know who I was.
I did not.
Nope. So, like, that's weird. So, like, I'm kind of good. One of my specialties is I'm really good at, like, I can manifest people just by, like, thinking about them really fast. I'll have a thought of them, and then they message me, or I see them in public. But there's no resistance there. That's kind of, like, the difference. If there is resistance, sometimes it takes a bit longer for me. But no, for Maria, I had no resistance, of course. And, yeah, she started following me. And I was shook when I saw that, like, shook. And then I was like, that has to be a coincidence. But I was like, no, I manifested her. And wow. Yeah, here we are.
I know. Do you see how instant and like at that time I was just like, oh, she seems cool. Like, okay, she's into, because you're into like paranormal, yeah, like haunting, stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, let me follow her back. And then I thought it was my idea to follow you, and here we are.
Exactly. So, like, what were your thoughts before, if you remember? Because I know it was a while ago.
You know what? It was just one of those things. You started popping up on my For You page, like, no joke, quite often. And I think it did tell me that you followed me, and I was just like, oh, okay. Like, and I just like saw your face more and more. And then I was like, okay, cool. Let's like follow. And then I think that's when you noticed that I started following you, and you probably didn't even notice right away. I think it was like, it didn't take that long. It was like less than a few weeks, like for me on my end, after you started following me. I think I kept seeing you on my For You page. And then I'm like, okay, I'm like digging this. Like, let's do this. There were a couple of times I told you that I was like, oh, this is scary.
I know. That's crazy though. Like, it just shows you. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened fast.
Exactly. Like, you had put the intention out there, and then I thought it was my idea. Like, oh, she keeps showing up on my For You page. She's following me. She seems cool. Like, cool. Like, let me follow her. And I do that sometimes with other fellow creators, right? Like, it was like, oh, she's a creator like me. She follows me. She's obviously into law of assumption. Let's connect. And then after that, like, I don't know, we've had a couple DMs. We've talked. You've been on my lives. It's been great to have you on. And like, there was like a connection built that way.
Yes. But it's just like, I was just testing it because sometimes I like to test my faith in it, or build my faith, not test my faith. Build it up, because I think that's really great with law of assumption. And yeah, it was so random. And also, I did that with manifesting with Kimberly as well. So it's like, yeah, and now manifesting with Kimberly, she follows me and she follows you. Like, it's crazy. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a coach though for anyone watching. I love law of assumption. And my favorite coaches are Maria, Sammy, Manifesting with Kimberly, and I think that's it. I can't think of anybody else. I think that's it, which is good. I think you should only stick with 3. 1 or 3. I feel like if you're going from coach to coach to coach to coach and like watching a bunch of people, you're going to confuse yourself. That's what I did in like 2020 when I first got into law of assumption. I was just like watching everybody and consuming so much content, and I was in such a lack mindset, and it was the worst year of my life in 2020. Holy shit. Oh, sorry for swearing. But like, I don't know, now in 2023, like I'm finally starting to understand law of assumption and about states, because like I was telling you, Maria, I used to like be all about affirming, which I still am, of course, but I was constantly affirming. But I was affirming from a state of lack. Like I would say like, oh, I am so loved, I'm this, but really I didn't put any feeling, because I'm a feeling person. I know in the law of assumption, people are like, feelings don't matter. But for me, that's how I know that I'm in the state of having what I desire, because I feel it in my heart. Like I'm a very emotional person. And when I have that feeling in my heart space, I'm just like, yes, I have this. And it makes me feel good. So I stay in that state of mind throughout the day. I try to. I would love to stay in it 24/7, but it's kind of impossible. But yeah, I've just transferred from affirming constantly to just being in the state of already having it. But you're still affirming, but sometimes you have to go on this journey of manifestation. Like sometimes you make mistakes, but at the end of the day, you're going to figure it out. Like it took me, I don't want to like put fear into people's like minds, because it did take me a few years to finally get it. Because at first, like, I was watching so many people and I couldn't go a day without watching all these people and trying to figure out like if I'm doing something wrong or if I could do something better, like what I can do to improve making something come in faster. But you really just got to build up your self-concept and test it out and build your faith in small things. So if you want to manifest like seeing a green car or seeing a butterfly or something, or seeing, I don't know, manifesting a random person that you haven't talked to in years that you have no resistance to whatsoever, and that builds your faith. Like, sorry, I'm like going on, but like
You're
it just
good. You're good. I think,
yeah, I just think you have to test it to build your faith, and you'll start seeing things coming in. And at first you're going to be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. But no, it's not a coincidence. Like for me, there's no such thing as a coincidence. I used to think things were coincidences, but no. So many things have come into me that I thought were impossible. So many things have happened to me that I was planting the seed for when I was a child. I used to walk around thinking I was like the most famous person ever. I used to think I was Brittney Spears, literally. I would pretend I was Brittney Spears. I'd pretend there was cameras following me all the time. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I was older. I just knew I wanted to be like a ghost hunter, a paranormal investigator, going to haunted places and talking about haunted things and scary stories and ghost stories and everything. And it's happened. But it's because I really believed in it. And I just kind of persisted in it back then, even without knowing. I was doing it subconsciously without knowing about manifestation or law of assumption or anything. So when you look at your life experiences and seeing what's come into fruition, it all starts making sense. Like everything is you. It all comes from you. So it's mind-blowing. But
no, you did a great job. I think you touched on some great things, like as a recap, right? Like I think one of the most important things that you pointed out in this journey is like how it can take time, right? You're just learning, and you can get these ideas like intellectually, but it's a very big difference between knowing it and actually being it, right? Doing it. Like that's where I tell my clients, I tell followers, like it's not until you actually become it versus consuming too much content, right? Like we can sometimes think, and I was guilty of it too, back in the day, watching like a million people. And while some of the messages are the same, some are not. Some people are not at the same level. And, every coach has their unique experience of how this works for them and their belief systems, right? So not everyone's 100% aligned. So if you're jumping around all the time, one coach may contradict the other, one might not get it at the same level. So you're kind of like, it's almost like canceling things out and makes you question yourself more. And I think that's where it gets to be very confusing. And I think you made a great point. And I say it all the time. I feel like me, Kim, and Sammy are at a very similar level. We teach the same thing. which is great. There are other coaches I think that are kind of in that bubble, but I also think that it's good to follow similar coaches so you don't get confused.
Exactly.
And everyone struggles with that. And you're right, like it is a manifestation of who you are. Like, you know, like I, for the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, I think ever since I was in high school, right? Around that time, early college, like I remember just being like, I want to be a life coach. I didn't even know what that was, but I wanted to be one, you know? And I was like, this sounds right to me. And what am I doing now? It's like, you know, what I'm doing.
Exactly. And you know what actually helps? Because I saw like a quote, I don't know who said it, but it's about your desires come from your higher self. So when you have, like you said, you wanted to be a life coach, you didn't know why. That is your higher self telling you, like, this is what you are. And it's certain, like it's yours. When you get those ideas, like this is what I want to do, that's your higher self telling you that you already have it. You can bring it into your reality. And I don't know, that just made me feel like, oh, like such a relief knowing that. So whatever you desire, whatever your heart is like aching for, it's yours. And you just got to tell yourself, like your higher self is basically saying, girl, we got this in another reality. Like bring it into yours. I don't know who said it. It was something. I don't know. I read it somewhere.
No, I think I think I heard it a long time ago. It could have been for me, maybe not. I've always believed, and I do
Maybe it
believe.
was you.
Maybe, who knows? I've always said it too, like if it's a desire, it's meant to be. Because I truly, there's a reason why we desire certain things, right? Like we're all unique individuals. Sure, some people might like the same celebrity or want to have similar experiences, but in your quantum bubble, everyone is you pushed out, and people love you so much that they're willing to step down for you, act a certain way, move out of the way, because that's how this world is designed, right? So like, yeah, I definitely do believe that the things that we want are fated for us, because it's like our heart indicating us to us that we're on the right path, that we're going the right way.
Exactly. And say, for instance, you give up on a desire. You're never really giving up on it, because even if you do give up, you're going to be constantly thinking about it for the rest of your life. Like, why didn't I go after that? You know, if you want to be a YouTuber or something and you're too scared because you don't want to be on camera, or you're scared of, you know, people being mean, but it happens for everybody. But what if you're, you know, 70 years old and you're like, oh, I could have been a YouTuber, or I could have been an actor, or I could have been a doctor or something, and you never went for it because you were scared. Your whole life you're thinking about why you didn't go for it. So that's why, like, you gotta go for things. And that's kind of been my mindset. What is that song by Ariana Grande? I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so true. It's the truest thing. And it's just, there's so many things that I have wanted over the years, and I've gotten them. And it's crazy to me because, you know, back when I was a kid, like technology wasn't what it is today. Like we didn't really have social media. Actually, we didn't have social media at all.
No.
So it's like, how was I going to be this paranormal person? It happened because of social media. And it's crazy how things have happened. I can't even explain it. But that is the whole thing with manifestation, is you're not supposed to know how you're going to manifest it, or when it's going to happen. That's not your job. You just have to be. And I know that's what's difficult, because it's been difficult for me sometimes, just being, because you want it so badly right now. But you got to know that you already have it now inside. And whatever you persist on the inside in your mind, when you constantly persist in having it and it's already here and knowing it's done, it will come out in your 3D. Your 4D creates your 3D, hands down. I know it sounds like woo woo, but it's the freaking truth. The freaking truth. Like I love talking about manifestation. Like it's so fun for me. I love it. It's changed my life. And Sammy, because Sammy's one of my best friends, she got me in 2019. She was like, girl, you need to look up Neville Goddard. I was like, who the heck is Neville Goddard? And then I started following Neville, like, you know, his teachings and everything, and just his lectures and everything. And no, it's just opened up this whole thing. Because I used to be in law of attraction. I used to think like the universe delivers you stuff and you have to like write stuff down. I used to be a scripter. I don't script anymore. Sometimes maybe I do if I'm in the mood, but I used to think, okay, if I write something down, then I'm going to get it. But that was my assumption. And it did work because I truly believed, like, okay, if I write it down, then it will happen. But now I'm just like, no, I just go into my mind and I have scenes that I loop when I think about a certain desire. And it's weird when they play out in your 3D. That is just even more proof right there. So it's mind blowing every single time. But like, I could talk about this stuff for hours. I live for it. I've made videos about it too, but like, I'm not a coach or anything. I don't think I could be, but I love giving advice and like helping people when I can with it. It's just fun. It's motivational. So
I think,
but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of fun because it's like you get to be creative. This whole world is nothing more than clay. We're playing with it, right, all the time, and we're molding it, we're making it into whatever we want. And I think you brought up a good point. Like, you really don't need, you are the technique, you are reality. Like, everything is you. So like, technically all you need to do is, like you said, loop a scene, or you could just have inner conversations, which feels really normal because we're always talking to ourselves. People will be like, oh, that person's crazy, they're talking to themselves. They're just talking to themselves out loud, right? Like, or you'd be thinking it on the inside. I just think some people are more like auditory learners, so they, you know what I mean, it might feel more natural for them, or maybe they have a busy mind, so that's an easier way for them to stay focused. I know, because I've been guilty of that. Like, sometimes I have to talk to myself out loud to kind of be able to better focus. But we all are, yeah, all of us are thinking about something, doing something. And I think that's creating our reality, right? Like, whatever our beliefs are, or whatever their beliefs are created by the current state we're in, right? Because we can notice that sometimes we're manifesting better when we're feeling better, or when we're taking care of ourselves versus when we're depressed and going through something, right? Maybe we won't manifest as well, or we might think we're like not as powerful, right? We're in and out of different states all the time. But I think, like Neville says, we reside in like a neighborhood of states that are more comfortable for us. And that's why when we're creating something new, it's important to create like a new neighborhood of states. Because honestly, manifesting is as easy as walking into a room. You just have to embody, become the character of that person, the queen energy, the winner, the winner of a, I don't know, of a contest, or the queen energy of people, respecting you and just like treating you really well, or whatever it is you're trying to manifest. It really is just embodying that character. And then when you become it, it reflects outside of your reality.
Exactly. And I think it's so important though to stay out of that waiting phase. Because I was telling you earlier, that has been my issue in the past, is I will literally put my life on hold, or I did put my life on hold for certain things. Like, I would just sit there staring at a wall, waiting for something to happen. I couldn't live my life and just be happy and do things I enjoy. I neglected myself. I would neglect things in my life, just waiting for certain things to come in. And that's just not the way to go with manifestation. So like I was telling you, Maria, like I got into, well, it's only been like a week, but like I started eating healthier and doing little workouts. I do like, it's just, I dance to this 15-minute Britney Spears mega mix on YouTube like every day, because I'm not really a person to like go to the gym. I just like to dance and stuff. But still, and I feel so good. Like, I feel kind of back in my power again. And I feel like when you make yourself, if you don't feel good already, then it's going to be hard to make yourself feel good, just by like staring at a wall and waiting for something to happen. Like, you have to live as the version of yourself who already has your desires. So the version of me is in shape, is healthy, is living her life, doing her thing, and not just sitting here waiting for something to happen, something to change, because I know deep inside that I already have it in my mind, and it's just a matter of time before it comes out and plays in the 3D for me. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people struggle with, is because they're just waiting. They're waiting for the 3D to change, when really you got to change what's up here for it to change, because your 4D is what creates your 3D. It's a reflection. It's a projector. Was it you who said projector? I'm like quoting people now. Someone said projector, and I like that. It's true. It's literally a projector. And I know it seems very, well, this is crazy, that's stupid. I thought the same thing, girl. I thought law of assumption was like batshit crazy. Like, you're telling me I just change my thoughts and I'll change my reality? it is true because I am proof of it. I've manifested people into my life. I've manifested experiences. And when you look back and seeing what you were thinking during those times, it all makes sense. Like, you just have epiphanies constantly. So yeah, I still have epiphanies and I love it.
Isn't it the best when you have those moments where you're like, you didn't even know you were doing it and you're like, oh my God, I manifested this and this and that. Like, even me, like, when I was telling you about some of the experiences I had at the Joe Dispenza event where I was so in the quantum and like, all I thought to myself, and this was an instant manifestation when I was out to dinner with a friend, I looked at the time and I was like, oh, it's getting late. I wish it was earlier. And I looked and it was like 8 something, 8:20 something, or 8:30 something. And then we're walking back towards the hotel, right? And I look down at the clock and it's like 7:38 or some bullshit. And I'm like, wait, what? And I looked at him and obviously he was at Joe Dispenza with me, so he didn't think I was completely batshit crazy when I told him this. And I was like, I quantum jumped. Like,
that's the perfect place to quantum jump. Oh my God, I can't even speak. Like, with Dr. Joe Dispenza, like,
yeah,
I love him.
Me too. He's pretty amazing. And, you know, the retreat itself is very trippy, as we talked about prior. We'll get into the somatics of it. But I had, you know, I had seen that in my reality before with time. You know, sometimes like I had similar experiences, but it was never like that big of a jump. We're talking like almost an hour difference, right? We jumped to a reality where we were walking, but it was an hour earlier. Because technically by that time it should have been 9 o'clock, but it was like closer to 7:40. And I'm just like, and this happened with someone there with me where I could validate that this was correct. I think he was kind of like, I didn't even notice. Cool. Like, he was just like, okay. Like, he didn't care. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, and the thing is, when you're meditating at that level, we talked about this earlier, you're really in the field and you're really like connecting with your true divinity and helping you remember who you truly are. So I think being at that high level of energy vibrating, I do believe in frequency, because that would explain states and different, right, experiences that we have, because everything's on a different frequency. If you're at that high level of frequency and you're in the, I know who I truly am, and you're at peace, feeling good, right? And you're not, and you're really present, which I think also can help manifest, but that's another conversation for another day. Things are so instant. Like, during the event, the amount of shit that I didn't even have to think about, like, I'd be like, I want a free coffee, and then someone would buy it for me, or I don't want to pay for dinner. Boom, bought. Like, I don't want to pay for my hotel stay. Someone else paid for it.
It's incredible when, you know, and there's so many success stories. Like, your success stories are absolutely insane, you know, especially to someone who's just getting into law of assumption. It's like, what the heck? But it's true. We're not put on this planet to suffer. You know, your higher self knows exactly what you want, and you can just bring it into your reality. And I think that's so cool when you desire something. It's your higher self being like, we already got it. You know, that's what I think, that's really comforting. I love that.
It's this, like, I think, you know, you said it perfectly, I think, just now, and it resonated, and maybe because of all the meditating. You're right. It's you're always taken care of. That's from Wayne Dyer. There's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, or if anyone hasn't seen it, it's called The Shift. It's literally on YouTube. It talks about trusting. Yeah. He talks like from a very quantum, like spiritual, slow moving kind of energy. But like, after having done Dr. Joe this week, it's the same thing, right? Like, you can manifest anything. You can be anything because it's already done. So it's that whole understanding you're always taken care of. Your every need can be fulfilled and will be fulfilled. I mean, we come in, if you think about it, from the moment of conception until you're born, right? You're taken care in the womb. You are, you know, like there's water and there's food, and you're warm, and you're, you know, dancing around in the room, doing whatever you're doing. And then you come out, right? Like, we're always taken care of. Like, even, I know some people don't have the greatest experiences, but everything truly is working out for you. And I think that's something, even when you think it's not working, it really is working for you, because then how would we have found Neville, or how would we have found law of attraction, even if it was prior to that, right? Like, I found Louise Hay, and I found Wayne Dyer, and then I found, you know, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, blah, blah, the list goes on, right? and then Abraham Hicks, and then boom, Neville Goddard, right? Like, and there's more to this. It gets deeper and deeper as you go. So
it does. And I think when you're talking about how, you know, things can like look bad and maybe you think something's going wrong, but you know what? When things are looking really bad in your 3D, change it around and just be like, you know what? Things are being rearranged or something amazing is about to happen. Because if we didn't have sad moments or dark moments in our lives, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the happy times. So it's like when you start seeing the darkness in your life, something amazing is brewing. Like that's something that I've always told myself. Like no matter what, you're not going to be staying in that state forever of being sad and miserable and mad. You eventually will get out of it and something amazing is going to come in. Something is coming in, or maybe it's being rearranged, but you don't know because that's not your job to know how or when. You should not be focused on that at all. Just be focused on already having it and just allowing it to come in.
exactly. I think you bring up a really good point on that too. Like it is always working for you. You know what I've noticed too? I think people, and in my own experience as well, when we see something drastic, because sometimes we'll be living in the end and we'll see something that appears to be the polar opposite, but it's really not. It's actually there to help propel your reality forward because we don't know how it's going to work out. And even if it's not for that reason, who gives a shit, right? Create a belief that this is working in my favor and it will. And if you just persist in that alone, whether it was part of your bridge or it wasn't, it will work out. And I honestly think that we need contrast. Like you said, how would you appreciate good from bad, right? Love from not love. Like we're here to experience all emotions and all different types of states. And the truth is, even the bad things or being sad or depressed, in a way, that's beauty too, because you're all of it. You're not just one part of it. You know, some people are probably not going to like that I'm going to say this, but you are the third party. You are the obstacle. You are the rejection. You are the love. You are all of it. It's all you. And then I think the more we stop being afraid of it and just realizing, okay, this is just, and this, you know, this is a Joe Dispenza thing, but what you're seeing in front of you is just 0.1% of possibility of the infinite, right? And when you can accept that and then just refocus your mind, and even if you see something you don't like, and this isn't a direct quote from me, I will give credit to Tom Caron because he says this, I accept that this is 0.1%, which is from Joe Dispenza's, you know, from the infinite realm, and then you refocus on what you want, you're able to jump to that reality because you're accepting what's in front of you versus fighting it, running from it, or being really upset about it, right? Because when we're, I don't want to say react or get triggered by it, we're almost accepting it to stay there. You know, it's okay to feel it, but it's a different thing to like wallow in it or continue in that story but you know, that's all choice.
And that's when self-concept is extremely important, is your whole concept of self, your deep rooted beliefs about yourself. Like if you think you're unworthy, that you don't deserve this or that, that plays a huge factor too, because everything is you and everything's coming from you. So if you think so negative about yourself, like no wonder you're having a negative experience. But when you're positive, you have a positive experience. Like it's literally a mirror. You're looking at your reflection, or the 3D, the world, the physical world out here is a mirror to your mind, your 4D, your subconscious. It's so trippy when you think about it. Like even I'm still like, huh? But no, it's the truth. you know? But you know, you have to work on your self-concept too. And I feel like when you take better care of yourself and you know, you feel good about yourself, and it gives you this confidence, and then you just start feeling good, and your concept of self just starts changing. I don't know, that's just been my experience. Like just eating healthier, I just feel so much better. And that's like an instant thing. You know, after a day when you start a diet or something, and then you're like, you already feel like 10 pounds lighter or whatever, and then you feel like you can conquer the world. It's so easy to change that. It's just you are so it's almost like a fear you have of changing it or stepping into that state of mind where you already have something, or I don't know, I feel like there's fears that a lot of people have of receiving their desire. They want it so badly, but they're almost scared of it at the same time, so it holds you back from doing certain things and being the version of yourself that already has it. But I've been like fighting through it. I'm like, girl, no, like I need to get on top of my shit. I'm so sick of being in this cycle of not changing myself, you know? And then finally, when I'm starting to change myself, things are changing. So like, no wonder. And they're changing in good ways. Like,
Yeah.
it's all you. You gotta take responsible for things going on, you know, within you. You got one life. Like, do you really want to be moping around and feeling sorry for yourself? No, that's normal though. You know, I'm all about letting your feelings out. Like, I'm a Cancer. I'm such an emotional person. So I'm all about that. I love to get my feelings out, but once they're out, I'm like, girl, nope, I'm back on my game. I'm being the bad bitch that I am. And I'm getting whatever I want. No matter what. No matter what.
That's awesome. Yeah, and no, I agree with you. And you brought up one of the most important points, like no one to change but self. Like
Yep.
nothing can change in your 3D reality until you change. And people are like, but, and that's where like a lot of us will go looking, right? Like social media, where is it? Or, you know, we've all been guilty of this. Me too. Like, what,
Yeah.
you know, the text message there, am I added as a friend again? You know,
Did they view my story?
the third party gone? Like everyone's done this, right? Like some people, you know, you get over it at a point, and then you sometimes people will stalk the third party to make sure they're gone, and it's like, no, that's not living in the end, right? That's not you being that version. And I get it. You got to disconnect from the 3D world, and it's not about like if you see something still there, you could just be like, oh, okay, it just hasn't shifted yet, right? Like, and it's okay. It's like even if you haven't shifted yet, you can shift in any second. You don't know, and plus, we don't always know what's happening behind the scenes, right? Like social media can be very fake, and like, you know, just because some person still has a photo up, I've been told stories of manifestation buddies and friends, or where they see a post from like 2 weeks ago and they're like, ah, that means they're still together. And in reality, they have a mental breakdown. And then like a week later, they find out that they broke up. You know what I mean? And they're not a third party anymore. You don't know when it, like you said, the how and the when is not up to us. And we don't know how that's going to unfold. And I just think that on this journey, it is about like kind of just getting real with yourself, and then, you know, establishing a better self concept that you made a great point about. That is really important, because even if we're living in the end, if we think we're failures and we can't do this and it's hard, sometimes that's the only thing keeping us from getting what we want to, right? Like, or this idea that you're doing it wrong. Then
yes, I've been there.
And then that has no choice but to push out. But if we start believing the opposite of that, right? Like that everything's working for us, that this is easy, that we can do anything, that will help you alone, just that one train of thought. And I think that it definitely takes time, and it's a process. It's not like a quick fix thing. It's not the lifestyle.
But I think like what you were saying earlier too is you got to stand firm in that decision and just not give a crap about what's going on, because you got to look at it as an illusion. And you know, it does, I know they say time is irrelevant, but sometimes it does take a while for people to understand, and it took me a while. You know, I thought I knew what I was doing, and I did, but at the same time, I was still wavering. I would be, you know, I'm this, I'm that. I'd be in my meditation. I would, you know, be doing my visualizations and my affirmations, but then the second I'm done, I'm out here looking like, where is it? Okay, where is it? Is it here yet? And then I go back and do it again. Then I look, and that has been my biggest issue with manifestation, is wavering. I'm like the queen. I don't want to affirm that. The queen of wavering. I was the queen of wavering. And it was almost a comfort thing, because I was so used to that. And I was almost like I was scared to actually embody who I know that I am. And I don't know what I'm scared of. Like, I don't know what that's all about. But I feel like a lot of people do experience that, like a fear, like, oh my God, because you don't know, you haven't like experienced, I mean, you've experienced it in your head and stuff, but like you haven't experienced it out here. So I feel like you scare yourself out of it because you're so used to being in a victim mindset. And that's been an issue with me. I'm like, it's comfortable to be in a victim mindset. Oh, this happens to me, that happens to me. And I'm like, well, no shit, it keeps happening because I keep saying it does. You got to change it. Be like, no, all good things happen to me. My life is perfect. Everything is constantly working out for me. No matter what you see or hear in the 3D, it's okay to react at first, but then you have to go within and be like, no, this is my story now. What I just saw, what I just heard, that's the old story. It's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything to me. And then once you keep persisting in, that assumption or going into the visualizations and affirming, once you keep persisting, it's going to be a habit, and then it becomes natural, and then you just automatically do it. And then it's like, it's about to come out of your head into the 3D, out of your 4D into the 3D at any moment. And you just got to kind of be, what's the word to describe it? Just like excited. I think gratitude is a really good thing too. When you think about your desires and you have that visual in your mind, feel like, oh, thank you. Like I got it. Yes, it feels amazing, because that just tells your mind that you already have it. Your subconscious mind also doesn't know what's real and what's not. It's just listening to what you're saying to it 24/7. So if you're constantly saying like, I'm stupid, nothing works out for me, then your subconscious mind is like, okay, I'm just going to show her that nothing works out for her. But if you tell yourself, oh my God, like I'm a bad bitch, everything works out for me, I get whatever I want, then you'll start seeing evidence in the 3D, and that builds your belief. And then you just become a master manifestor. So yeah.
No, I 1000% agree with everything you were saying. I was just taking it all in. You made so many good points, and I think because you touched on it earlier too, and I think I forgot to, like, because we've been talking about all these different topics, all relate, and they're, they all go together wonderfully. You're right. I think sometimes we're so afraid, and I think where people are afraid, they're afraid to give themselves the unknown, right? Like,
yep.
The victim mentality, the certain way that things have been in life, the fact that we lose things, that things may not stay, right? We talked about this earlier when we were just chit-chatting, but
we've been talking for hours.
And we had a little bit of a catch up beforehand, which was amazing, and it was great to like have that one-on-one.
I know.
It was. But you made a good point. Like, I think people are afraid to lose it too. And I also think they're afraid of the unknown. So I think it's a combination of learning to become comfortable with the unknown. And because in it, you're losing a sense of control, because it's not up to you how it's going to be, right? We don't know are we going to lose it again? What's it going to be like? Is it going to stick? Is it not? You know what I mean? Like, all these ideas come to your head. So it's really important. The couch is so unstable. It's so important that it's because it opens up into a bed.
That's fine though.
Yeah. So it's so important, I think, that you get out of that comfort zone, right? Like you gotta because we're so used to being in victim consciousness, the idea that we're the product of the world, the politics, people being mean, right? Like, it's so funny because I want to make a video on this, and I'm probably going to do one later today, how, if you can't accept that, like, everything is 100% you probably shouldn't be doing law of assumption. I know that sounds really harsh, but it's all you. And like, if you can't accept that, for me, then you can't really run with this, because it's radical responsibility. And it's funny because at a Joe Dispenza event, I was talking to someone who kind of knew Neville, but not at the level that I did. And she said to me, she made a good point. She's like, while I understand what you're teaching, she's like, a lot of people are not ready to accept everything. And I really thought about that. And I was like, she makes a good point. That's rough, right? It's all me. Like, I've had so many people be like, but that's my sister-in-law, but that's the politics, or that's the government, or that's the elite. Okay, if you want it to be that way, you know what? Just like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're always right, right? And that's why it's funny when you find people who will be like, law of assumptions, bullshit, it's manipulation, it's witchcraft. We talked about that earlier. Or,
oh my God, yeah.
It doesn't work. Well, you know what? You're always right. You know what I mean? Whatever you assume. Yeah.
And it's not witchcraft. It's like, when you really sit down and see how people are reacting to you, how certain situations are reacting to you, and how you feel about yourself and the situation, it all makes sense. You're like, okay, that's how I feel about this person, what I think they think about me, and that is exactly what they're showing me. Or like a situation going on. Like, it's truly insane when you really take the time to sit down and look around and see. Like, it's literally all coming from you. And it was hard for me to accept that too, because I've always kind of been in that victim mentality, like, things just don't work out. But it's weird because they do miraculously work out for me, like they always have before I was even into manifestation. So I guess I just had like this assumption, like, no, it's going to work out anyway. Because I used to tell people all the time, like, what I'm going to do when I'm older and when I was in high school. And people thought I was crazy. Like, you can't be in the paranormal. That's so stupid. Like, how can you make money? How can you make a living? And I wanted like a paranormal TV show. And people thought I was crazy and everything. And it's all happened. Like, I was on the CW, which is like one of the biggest networks ever, doing my thing. Like, what? And I got to be myself. I got to wear pink when usually they want people to wear black. Like, that is still mind-blowing to me, just how everything works out. Also, do you want to hear something too?
Tell me.
Months before I got the call about the CW show, I just made a decision. I was like, you know what? Because I've been wanting a TV show like my entire life. And I said, I am just going to watch myself on my TV, like my YouTube videos, my investigations, my paranormal investigations, and pretend it's a TV show. Like, have it on the low volume because sometimes I can't listen to myself, and just do things, you know, around the house. And then, you know, maybe I'm editing a video or something. And then anytime I look up at the TV and I see myself on there, I'm just going to be like, oh, yeah, I got my TV show. So I started doing that for a couple months. And then it was June of 2021 when I got a call from a production company on behalf of the CW who wanted me to be on this show, like a paranormal show. I was like, what? And I had to do like an audition and everything. And it was crazy. But it was because I was living in the state of already having a TV show. And I was doing that for a couple of months because it was fun for me. You don't have to force yourself into visualizing. It should come natural and it should just feel good and not like a chore. Like, if you feel stressed out, if you feel annoyed by doing it, if you're just over it, then you need to take a break, because it should just come natural to you and it should just be fun. Like, it should be something that you enjoy. Even if you don't visualize, because I know there's some people out there who can't really visualize, but see, I'm like a huge visualizer. I can see stuff right now. I have my eyes open and I can see like Las Vegas or something is all around me. It's so easy. Like, I can see everything. I can picture myself at a Britney Spears concert right now. Like, it's easy for me. So, like, I'm not trying to, you know, brag or anything about that. But, you know, some people, it doesn't come easy to them. But that's okay. As long as you, like, have that feeling, you just keep telling yourself and, you know, affirming. You can visualize really good, though, right, Maria?
Oh, yeah. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I sometimes just imagine it's right in front of me. Like, you know, like people probably have seen me, like, there's been times where I'm manifesting an SP and I'm just like imagining him next to me at the grocery store and I'm like, what do you want, babe? And then sometimes if I talk outside of my mind, I'm like, oh, I might
I do that too.
I mean,
it's fun.
Yeah, it's like, oh, which eggs do you think we should get? We should get these.
I love that.
That helps. And I mean, yeah, like saying it out loud, probably if there's a group of people around, I think you're nuts, but you can do that in your head. I've done it a million times. Like, I remember I just made that video of how I manifested my first ex-boyfriend back, or how I manifested him into my life. And at the time when we broke up, I did talk about how I lived in the end without knowing it, right? But I did have a belief at that time that we were going to end up together. And I remember, like, anytime when I was at like this church thing I went to for the youth, like for Greek kids when I was younger, I remember imagining him next to me the entire time, talking to me, being there with me, hugging me, kissing me. If I would go out with friends, I just imagined that he'd meet us up, or like, there's so many ways you can do this. And I think actually visualizing with your eyes open is better because it can feel more real, right? Yeah. Like, and if you don't know how to visualize them, then put a damn picture on your phone. And I've done that too, where I'm just looking at the phone and I'm looking at the picture and I'm imagining them telling you, I love you, baby, I miss you. And that works too. You can do mind movies, right? Some people think that they have to have like this perfect vision when they close their eyes. No, you can see gray shadows and it'll still work.
Yeah, because when I visualize, I think I see better with my eyes open too when I'm visualizing. Like, I can see myself right now at like a Britney Spears concert. Like, it's so easy, but I feel if you're trying to force the visualizations on, it can be blurry, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like you're watching this like 4K film. It doesn't have to be completely clear, as long as you know what you're looking at, what you're seeing. And if you bring, like, you know, you can touch things in your mind or like smell things. or just like feel the air or the sun on you or something. Like I can feel the sun on, well, I guess the sun is on me, but even in my head, like I can feel it. You know, I don't know. It comes just natural to me. So I think, you know, we kind of have, well, I shouldn't really say that we have like the upper hand in it because we can just easily tap into it. But I believe anyone can do it. It just takes practice. Like, even if you can't really do it right now, just keep trying. Practice makes perfect within anything.
Absolutely. And then if you think it's hard for you, why not just start assuming it's easier? No matter what technique you use, it's going to work, right? You talked about how you were scripting at one point. You can even scripting to visualize. Like I've done it when I'm tired, or I will script, right? Like I will write it down, and I, like you for a long time, had this belief if I wrote things down, they would happen, and they did.
They did.
So, yeah. So I was going to say, like, you could do this anyway. It's your world. You could just literally have the feeling that it's going to happen, and it will. Like it could be that easy too for some people. It just depends. We do it all the time. Sometimes we just have one thought, and because of the state we're in and we have no resistance, it's boom. Just like when I time jump to a different time, or I think when you were talking about earlier, oh, this wasn't on this, but we'll talk about that another time. I think when you had no resistance to manifesting a white shirt.
And now it's in my closet. When I got rid of that white top years ago, I don't know why it's in my closet. It was not there, but it's there. I look at it every day to make sure too, because it was cute. Because I remember I needed it for an event I was going to, and I was like, oh my God, but I got rid of it. Ugh, figures, I got rid of it years ago, because how was I supposed to know that years from now I would need it for this like cute outfit? And then no, it was in my closet. It was not there. It hasn't been there in years. I got rid of it. I remember getting rid of it like it was yesterday, but nope. I don't even know how I brought that into my reality. That is something I'm shook over. But I guess because I was like, oh, I need it. And then boom, I didn't see it fly in or anything like that. It was just there. Because that would be weird. Imagine seeing it fly in. No, it was not there. I'm in my closet every day, girl. That thing is not there. It's there now, though, because it came back. I don't know how it came back. That's the thing. You don't know how.
No, exactly. But clearly you revised probably in some way, right? Like you're like, no, I have that shirt. Just by implying that I never gave it away or it's in my closet. I don't know exactly what you did, but, or even if you had, because I think what you had mentioned, you had no resistance to getting it back, and you didn't care kind of, but now it's there. Yeah. It's like, we can do this in any way. Like the time really doesn't exist if you think about it, because it all exists now. There was a version of you that never got rid of it. And guess what? You tapped into that quantum possibility. And now you're on the timeline where that white shirt is with you.
Yeah. It's weird. That's probably the weirdest thing that's happened to me, because I can't explain that. It's very weird. I should wear it in like a video soon and be like, this is the white top. It's cute. I don't know. I don't know, because I remember I got rid of it. Because I was like, oh, I'm never going to wear this again. Because I was cleaning out my closet years ago, you know, and it's just, it's back. And it hasn't left since, because I have it on a hanger, like outside my closet, to make sure it doesn't leave. Because if it does leave again, I'll be sad. But that was probably like the weirdest quantum jumping thing that I've ever experienced. Like I can't explain that at all.
So you want to laugh? Not laugh, but I have an outfit that I gave the top away, but I kept the skirt and I still have it. And it's like an outfit my grandpa bought for me when I was like really young, like in Greece. It's like one of those outfits that were really trendy, like back in the day, it was trendy to have like a matching top bottom kind of outfit, right? And now they're back in style, like the last 2 years. And I'm just like, damn it, I could totally rock this now. And then I'm like, I am going to just imagine that top is at my dad's. I haven't found it yet, but like, I'm going to go looking. And there's also like a coat that I lost that my mom bought. And I was like, that's there too. Like, because it can happen. I did it with this necklace. We were talking about that.
Yes.
I had taken, guys, I made a video on this somewhere on TikTok. Don't remember where, but this mom pendant, it says mom, it's got a little diamond in it. I bought it for my mom when I was really young. I like saved my money, bought it for her for Mother's Day, and she wore it every day of her life. And then when she passed away, she hid it somewhere. I had no idea where. And I remember thinking to my mom, like, Mom, where'd you put this? And then I got like a vision of where to look, and I found it. And then that's another story for another day too.
Yeah.
Where
what the heck?
I know to find it. Yeah, like I had no idea where she had put it, but it, there was a place in one of our dining room tables where she would hide things in like weird places. And I got the vision to look there and I found it. And then, I always kept it and had it with me. And then when I went to Florida to visit a friend last year for a little bit, 'cause that was the first trip I took since COVID. And I think a lot of people didn't travel for a while. I remember just being like, oh, I'm going to take it with me. And then when I got back, I remember kind of looking through everything and I'm like, where's my mom necklace? Where's my mom necklace? And I started to get a little bit of upset, right? Like, oh shit, I think I lost it. And then I'm like, but where? Because I stayed at my friend's house. I went to like 2 or 3 different hotels. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a nightmare. And then I remember just thinking, wait, I don't have to accept that. No. And I remember just imagining finding the necklace and just feeling relief. That's all I did. Anytime I thought
There's
about
the relief thing. When you
yeah.
imagine and you feel relief, that just tells your mind that it already happened. Or yeah.
Exactly. So then what happens to me? I'm getting ready to go country line dancing a week or so later, and I completely forgot about it. And something told me like, oh, I want to wear gold. And I'm like looking through my like, the little thing where you hang the necklaces.
Yeah.
Something caught my eye out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I like grabbed it, and I was like, oh. And then I was like, yes! And I was so excited, but it wasn't on this necklace. It was like on a different one, which was weird. And I was just like, it wasn't that way when I had it last time, but I didn't give a shit. It was there. I was happy. You know what I mean? Like it all worked out. And it's true. Like the how is just not up to us. It didn't just fall out of the sky. It ended up somewhere where it would have been if I still had it.
And like just stories like that is just mind blowing to me. It's crazy, but that's just how it works. Like that's just the law of the universe.
Yeah.
Like some people just can't accept it, and that's okay. But I also find like through this journey of manifestation, you find out people who kind of fall out of your life because you just don't align with them. And I find that it happens.
It can. Yeah.
Like they just leave. They're gone. It's like they never even existed. So like I don't know if I just because I took my focus off them or whatever, but I find the people that I've met in my life since my manifestation journey have been the best people I've ever met because everyone is just on the same like frequency as me. You just all align and you get it. It's crazy when you think about it, and it brings certain people, like you attract the people because literally everyone is you pushed out. So you attract people who have like the same beliefs as you and believe in the same things and just get it. They don't look at you like you're crazy or, like you're a witchcraft person.
No,
or a wizard or whatever. But no, like I'm not doing any spells or anything over here. I don't even know how to.
I think, you were saying like you don't even know how to. Exactly. Like I think
no.
I know there's been points in time where I had that too, where certain people kind of fell out of my life in the very beginning of this journey. But then I realized I'm like, fuck, I can change them to be more into this stuff. And a lot of them are now. Like I've at least developed a self-concept where I'm like, if someone new comes into my life, I'm going to kind of prep them on this if I want to keep them in my life. But if I don't give a shit to keep them in my life, because sometimes you don't want to change people. You're like, bye. You're like,
that's what I was like. I was actually, my life got so much better when certain people were gone. Like I was a lot happier and everything, and I could finally just like live in my bubble and like do my thing because they think you're crazy. So I'm like, what? I'm not even gonna put my energy into you for thinking that, I like to manifest and everything. And what is wrong with that? Like we're not hurting anybody. What is wrong with thinking the best possible outcome for yourself in every area of your life? Like what is so wrong about that? Do you want people to constantly think the worst of themselves? You should always be thinking the best for yourself because it's you. Yes. There's nobody on the planet who is you. I don't care if you have an identical twin or you're a triplet or whatever. Nobody will ever be you. Like you are your own person and like you should celebrate that. It's your life. Do what you love doing. And I don't get people sometimes. I hate the people who try to rain on others' parades, making you feel stupid. What does Taylor Swift say? The worst kind of person is someone who makes someone who's excited feel like horrible about themselves, Like spread some love and joy, people.
No, I agree more. I agree 1000% for you, with you, for you, I 1000% agree with you because I do feel that this journey isn't for everyone. I do feel that, right, they are reflecting our beliefs 1000%, but it does suck when we have those experiences come into our life. And I think there are people that aren't ready for this message. And if they're not, that's okay, right? Like we can shift them if we want, we can leave them or we can delete them. Like there's, or,
Yeah.
and I think there is something to this whole, like, from my knowledge, from what I know, like right now, the only thing that's alive in our reality is like this screen and me and you talking, nothing else.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of non-existent. Like it's out there, but it's not in our field, right? Like it's not in our vision.
Exactly.
And I've noticed that too. Like sometimes, like, I'll think about someone I haven't thought about in a long time, and then they'll message me or talk to me, and I'm just like, wow, like, right? And it's just, they didn't exist when I wasn't thinking of them. Sure, like on some level, I knew they were out there somewhere, but it's like literally all that exists right now is like you in this moment and what's around you. And something only comes alive when you animate it in your mind or think about it.
It's so true. And I feel like people just need to, if they want to, practice it more, then practice. And you will see results. Because at first I wasn't seeing shit. Because I was looking for it. I was constantly like, well, nothing's happening. But in my past, before manifestation, I was seeing stuff. I just wasn't aware of it. But just looking back, I started noticing, oh, wow, like that's why this happened. And that's why this happened. But I think when you get into manifestation, you're just kind of looking for a quick fix and you want instant results, which they can be, but sometimes it's not. There's a time delay. Like there's a lag in the 3D. It needs time to catch up, but it will. Like it will. You'll see signs sometimes, but don't focus too much on signs. I used to be one of those people. I was like, oh my God, 444, even though I'm still that way because I love the number 4 and 44. Like that's my numbers. But I used to be like, oh my God, that's what this means. And I got so obsessed with seeing 4s, but I see them all the time. But I'm just like, okay, cool. I don't obsess over it anymore. I'll see like 1111, or I'll see like certain people's names everywhere, or initials, or their birthdays. And I'm like, oh my God, like somebody's coming.
Well, exactly. You could just use it as belief that it's done, right? Like a sign, a lot of people like to think that signs mean it's coming. No, sign means you're in the state. It's done.
It does.
It's done. Just go about your day. If I've learned anything, the best way to manifest is when it comes up to your mind, make sure you're entertaining the idea or what you want, right? Like the living in the end, and then you drop it and then you go about your day. Literally.
Right.
And your manifestations always find you. Like I didn't go looking for the necklace, it found me. You didn't go looking for the top, it found you, right? Like if I've wanted to manifest a person, I don't go looking for them. I remember years ago, I like one time had a naughty scene with some guy from my past, right? Like meaning like I did SATs at the time. I didn't know. And I remember just thinking about him because like I'd always wanted to like, have naughty time with, I always wanted to hook up. Okay. Or I always wanted to have sex with him. We'll just be real blunt and honest. And I remember just before bed, Brittney, I'm not joking you. It was so real in my mind where it felt like I went to that reality. I felt him, I touched him, he kissed me. And I remember just falling asleep in that. And it was exciting. And mind you, at this point, I hadn't talked to this man in 2 years. Well, not man, boy, whatever. We were young. This was like my 20s, early 20s. And I remember like 2 weeks later, I'm at like this bar and he never goes to this bar ever. It's like a Greek bar. And like, I see him and he's trying to talk to me. And the last time we talked, wasn't on good terms. Like he kind of had a girlfriend at the time and things happened between us. And then he brought her to my birthday, but that was from shitty self-concept. That's a whole other story. I'll have to like make a video about that too, about specific. So he starts wanting to talk to me and I'm being a bitch. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, better than you. And then at one point we end up, talking, and then somehow we became friends on social media again. I think like on Facebook, because that's what was popular back then. I think this was like what was the main way. Instagram wasn't really, I think Instagram was a thing, but it wasn't like a thing back then. And I remember just being like, okay, like I didn't think much of it. And then literally about a month later, he takes me out for my birthday And I had known him for years, but at this point there was 2 years of no communication, for the obvious reasons. And I didn't know law of assumption. I knew you can attract people into your life. And out of the blue, I see him at the bar. We start talking. He takes me out to dinner for my birthday. And then what do you think happens after my birthday? And then we end up dating for a couple months. Mind you, it wasn't exactly for me, but all I ever imagined was one naughty time, and that led to.
But see, like you persisted, and boom.
And I remember, and I had no resistance to this coming in, and it was quick. And I remember at one point being like, "Oh, I want to be his girlfriend," and then I was like, "I don't care." And then at the end, I wasn't feeling him anymore, and then I wanted another ex back, and I brought him back. And then he was starting to like peep around his little head because I was starting to consciously manifest him, and then he's all like, "We should move in together." And I was like, no, this isn't going to work for me, because I didn't know everyone was you pushed out. I thought he was just like kind of a shitty guy, like not a bad guy, but like he was kind of selfish. And I was just like, I don't want to be with someone that's selfish. Right. So I went back to the other guy, and we, manifested another guy back and started seeing him.
Girl, you're like the queen of SPs. That's amazing. I have brought
quite a few. Yeah.
Quite a few. It just shows you like persisting in something, and also because you said you had zero resistance to the other guy, like that you were having the naughty time with, it shows you when you have zero resistance, things just come in. It's all about the resistance, I'm telling you. 100%. All about that. When you have zero, it's just boom, it's instant. When you think of somebody and they just message you 2 seconds later, zero resistance. Yeah,
exactly. I agree.
It's exactly just you gotta work, and then
I wouldn't say work. Sorry. I had a little, it was the cookie dough.
The cookie dough, yes.
Yes. There's some donut shop down the street I need to go to, but regardless of the situation, I'm trying to eat better. So that might be for tomorrow morning, just one. No, but you're right. When you have no resistance to anything, that's how it works. Like it's instant, and it's happened to me so many times. Like, perfect example at the Joe Dispenza event, just because it's recent, there were just people I kept running into in the hallways. There was this girl from the UK, really cute blonde girl. Forget her name. It's not coming to mind right now, but she had a really unique name too. Can't think of it right now, but I kept running into her. We would laugh. I remember one day I'm looking at where to sit, and there she was, and I'd go sit with her, or I'm going to get Starbucks, and then boom, there she, like, we laughed the entire time, because we're like, oh, we just keep like manifesting each other, and just, we're laughing about it. Like, there were a few people like that. They just kept running into them, and I'd think about them, and boop, they just materialize.
It's true. Like, it happens to me too. It's so weird every single time. Like, you can't believe it, but it's like, that's just how things work. Oh, we're all connected. Like, everybody.
1,000%. I can't agree with you more. So there's nothing, like, if anything, there's nothing to fear in this, because literally it's a game. And I think we talked about this too. I think one of the most important things to help you realize that it's a game is Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about taking the VR headset off, right? Like realizing that this, and like surrendering to, what's within you. Because we always talk about everything's within you. You have, your God. And I feel like by doing meditation and practicing that, you really do tap into that a lot more, especially, when you're doing it for a week straight.
But even like giving everything to you, you have to give your desire to yourself, and like allow yourself to have it for it to, come out into the 3D. But I think it just can be hard for people to grasp exactly what that means, because, I was the same way too. I'm like, what do you mean give it to myself? Like, I want it. Just, can I have it? I'm like super impatient.
But you can be impatient because everything's instant.
Exactly. It is.
Or you can't be patient because everything's instant. Would that be better? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Or not patient, because patient implies that you have to wait. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm not like, and I would just hate waiting, but then I would put myself in that energy of constantly waiting, which is going to manifest more waiting.
Exactly.
But you learn, like, it's all like a learning. You grow and evolve in life, and you just learn, and when things click, they click. And you finally get it. Yeah. And that's such an amazing feeling. You just feel like satisfied and relieved and just happy. Like, oh, I finally get it. Like, I get it. I get how it works. And it's all worth it in the end when you finally do get it.
I think, like you said, it's a process because we can know this. We talked about this at the very beginning. It's funny. It's kind of wrapping up at the end, right? It's definitely, it's not a destination. It's a journey. And I think it can take a while because we were programmed to believe that we were victims to our circumstances. Like, right? Like this, the weather is the way it is. People can say no, people can walk away from us, people can cheat on us, etc. Whatever that belief is, right? Mercury retrograde, which if you want to believe in those things, sure you can. I poke fun at them sometimes. I still think I'm a Sagittarius, but I don't believe like all the personality stuff I laugh about because it's very me. I'm like outspoken, confident, go after what I want, right? But like the horoscope stuff where it's like, oh, you can't match with this one, that I reject. I'm like, fuck bullshit. Yeah. Like you can make it's your reality, so you create the rules. And if something resonates for you and you like it for fun, cool, keep it. If not, toss it in the trash, right? Like
exactly.
And I think it's as you go into this, you'll get deeper and deeper and you'll really start to understand it more and more. And I was even telling you, I think before we got on this call, because there was a previous talk, that at Joe Dispenza events, there's people that they just get into their heart space and they just have these instant changes where their ex-spouse contacts them and is very loving, or some of it was manifested, or they have like these crazy healings, and it's heart space energy. Like that's so important too. You talked about that earlier, and I think that's what I did when I was younger.
I'm all about the heart space. Like I love feeling everything in here. Like it's just so easy for me to access that, and I love feeling like my heart fluttering and butterflies. Like I love that. That's how I know that I'm in the state.
That's awesome.
Like that's just my indicator, so it makes me happy. But it works.
It does. And it doesn't need to be an elated feeling. It could just be like a minute, right? Like I've noticed whether it's like, oh my God, orgasm, or or like a light like tingle. Because the truth is, when you're thinking about something that you want, or as if it's already happened, you're gonna feel some certain way about it. 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much, I think we went over everything.
Yeah, it was good. We did a good job.
Is there anything else you want to wrap up with?
I think that's about it. It's just, it all comes from you. Those are like, you just got to know it's you. I know it's hard to grasp that because I was the same way. Like, what do you mean? It's me. You have to change you to change what's going on, but it's the truth. You got to change what's going on inside of you before it can project outside of you. You can't be trying to, manipulate the 3D because it's not going to change that way. It only changes when you shift within yourself, and then this shifts. That took me forever to finally like have an epiphany over. So I was like, oh my God, let me just rearrange this over here. But no.
Yeah, that's why we don't want to, engage in the old story or try to, change the person or manipulate the person to change, right? Like, because then that's us not believing. We think that they're still going to be a certain way, rude or with someone else or whatever the circumstances, right? The shitty boss, our mom being mean. It literally could be anything. It's like, but once we become different inside, it has to project it. It's about you. It's not about them. Yeah, that's a big pill to swallow. That's for sure. Can't agree more with you on that one.
Yes, but it's the truth. And when it finally clicks, like you just get it. And everything changes. So yeah.
Awesome. I agree. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And
even though I manifested it.
You did. I love that.
It's crazy.
I know. Who would have thought?
It's weird. It's just like the fact that when you followed me, like I was shook. This was like months ago to everyone watching, but it's like, yeah, that was crazy.
I was gonna say that's now been over a year, if not longer.
See, I guess time doesn't matter to me anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was because you went to Dr. Joe Dispenza last year, and I was following you then. So yeah.
Over a year. I think it was like end of 2021, maybe It had to have been like fall of 2021. So we've been following each other now for almost 2 years. Almost. Time goes by
Doesn't feel
fast.
that way.
I know. I would have never known.
That's crazy.